Hey, Riverside Rockets, it's Mrs. Wogalush. Welcome to another reading of our book club book, Masterminds by Gordon Korman. We are on chapter 4 today. As I'm reading to you, it's sunny in my side of my face. So if when you're listening to this, it's kind of gloomy out, just remember the sun is shining as you're listening to the story. So here we go, chapter 4, Eli Frieden. There's something different about Randy, and it isn't just because he's leaving. He never comes to see me in the clinic, even though I'm there 2 nights. I knew you were okay, is his shrugged expression when I finally get over to his house. What's the point of us hanging around a hospital bed listening to Baruder's lame jokes? Well, if it happened to you, I'd be there in a heartbeat. I almost blurt. I'm sort of hurt. When Randy broke his ankle last year, I spent even more time than usual at the Hardaways because I felt bad for him being all cooped up. We even invented a new challenge, crutch ball home run derby. That's always been the best part of being best friends with Randy. You spend 80% of your time laughing. He can make a game out of anything. I had visions of us racing up and down the hall, me on a wheeled IV stand and him on a rolling instrument cart. Or something even crazier. There's no limit to the guy's creativity. But now he doesn't even meet my eyes. I have to pack. I'll help, I offer. No good. My mom's driving me nuts with it. She's got everything in these color-coded boxes. It's a train wreck up there. I still don't understand why you have to go at all. Yeah, tell me about it. I can tell I've hit a nerve, so I try to cheer him up. Well, we should definitely get in a couple of challenges before you leave. How about the truck tire scooter jump? We never quite nailed that one. Just for a moment, the old Randy shows up. His eyes dance. It occurred to me to stick the boomerang back in the pool filter for old time's sake. I wouldn't even be here to get in trouble for it. I sigh. At least you'll be with your grandparents. He looks at me as if I have a cabbage for a head. Randy, did you remember to pack your... Mrs. Hardaway comes up from behind her son and fixes me with an unreadable expression. Anger? Resentment? Fear, even. I'm taken aback. It isn't my fault her parents need help on their farm. That's what's sending Randy away, not me. Then she stuns me even more. Sorry, Eli, but Randy has a lot of things to do before he's ready. In other words, get lost. My best friend is being shipped off to Colorado, and I'm barely going to have a chance to say goodbye. We throw Randy a going-away party at school with a frozen yogurt cake and his favorite chips, fiery jalapeno and lime. There are only 30 kids in the whole town, 19 of us in the upper school classroom, so it isn't exactly a blowout. One of the unique things about Serenity is that we're all like a family, Dad says in his capacity as principal. He chuckles. There are some extended families larger than our entire population. But when one of our own moves on, it's like we're losing a brother or a nephew. It leaves an empty space that's impossible to fill. We'll miss you, Randy. I find myself suddenly annoyed. In the past, Dad has mentioned at least 50 times how much he wished there was another school in town so Randy could go to it. Dad's not going to come close to missing Randy. Isn't that almost like lying? Mrs. Laska speaks next, but she says some nice things. You can tell that she really means. At the end, she gives Randy a big hug and actually tears up a little. Speech! Calls Stanley Cole, and a few others join in. Randy's face is bright red. Who says I like jalapeno chips? Even Dad smiles at that one. Tori Priddle sits down beside me. I've never seen Randy so embarrassed. You can't embarrass Randy. Remember the time he ran out of bathing suits so he played water polo in his boxers? I study the floor. Then again, what do I know? She turns in surprise, her long dark hair shifting on her shoulders. Well, you should know more than anybody. You guys are best friends. You'd think so, right? I should probably keep my mouth shut, But there's something about Tori that puts me at ease. With Amber, you always feel like you're being judged. With Malik, you're afraid he'll make fun of you, or worse, file it away so he can use it against you later. Tori is the opposite. Every time I go over to Randy's, it's the same story. I have to pack. Well, how much packing can anybody do? Lewis and Clark didn't pack this much. He's avoiding me. He's sad. You're sad, she contends. Nobody ever leaves town, so we're extra sensitive to any change. Remember how weird it was when Mrs. Delaney got here? Mrs. Delaney is our water polo coach. She's super nice and also a great source of information about the outside world. She came to town about 6 months ago when she married one of the purple people eaters. Maybe, I concede, but that doesn't explain everything. Like why all of this is happening so fast. I've barely heard Randy even mention his grandparents before. Have you? I'm in the clinic for 2 days and suddenly he's going to live with them? I'm guessing the Hardaways have been considering this for a long time, Tori reasons. They just didn't tell Randy because they didn't want him to worry. You know how parents are. So when the decision gets made, it seems like it's coming out of nowhere. But it's really been brewing a while. Tori doesn't get great grades in school, but she's really smart in a common sense way. Not that it helps me feel any better. Nothing will, except Randy announcing that he isn't moving at all. The party fizzles. Randy has no appetite, which saddles us with a lot of uneaten chips. Dad has a solution. You can have one more bag. We trust you not to take more than your fair share. He escorts Mrs. Laska out of the room. Amber scowls at Malik, who already has a huge armload. We're on the honor system. Malik stuffs a fistful into his mouth. Guess that makes the most honorable guy in town. I look over at Randy. His expression never changes. The next day is Saturday, departure day. Although in my mind, Randy's already gone. I'm done banging my head against the wall. Numbness has begun to set in. Still, I get up early to watch them load the car, which doesn't even appear so full after all that packing. In a way, everything seems totally normal. The Hardaways are going for a drive, something they do occasionally. The only difference is that this time, when they come back, Randy won't be with them. He looks pale, and there's no life in his eyes. His parents seem none too happy themselves, and his little sister is crying. I'm trying to swallow a lump in my throat the size of a bowling ball. It's so awkward. There's no hugging or handshakes. Instead, I give him a piece of paper with my email address on it. In case you forget, he probably never knew it. We live a grand total of 100 yards away from each other. Correction, we used to. Let's go, Randy, his father announces. It's getting late. They get in the car. He hasn't even said goodbye. The car pulls away from the curb. Suddenly, he rolls down his window. All right. I point to the paper in his fist. Don't lose my email address. All right. He repeats as if it's the most urgent thing in the world, and I was too stupid to understand the first time. Think of it as our newest challenge. Like a few messages back and forth can replace nearly 14 years of friendship. As the car makes the turn into Old County 6, I wave. I couldn't have said anything if I wanted to. Now that Randy's gone, it's like the counter on my whole life has been reset. Everything is measured by the moment the Hardaway's car disappeared. There's the first night without Randy, the first weekend without Randy. I can't remember the last time I walked to school alone. It's less than a quarter of a mile, but it feels longer without the company. The shared yawns, the jokes about the purple people eaters driving by in their pickups, the rapid-fire plop of a fistful of cottonwood seeds splashing into somebody's pool isn't nearly as satisfying when there's no one to hear it with you. When you spend 13 years with the same 2.5 dozen kids, losing somebody is like cutting off a finger, especially when it's your best friend. At lunch, Amber and Tori are eating together, and Malik, Hector, and Stanley are at one of the picnic tables. Just beyond them are Melanie Brandt and the Fowler twins. It's probably been like this for years, but I never noticed because I always paired up myself. After school comes the water polo practice without Randy. The pool feels empty somehow, which makes no sense because the same number of us are in the water at any given time. I'm not the only one missing Randy. He was the team community's best player. Mrs. Delaney makes me his replacement, which means I have to go up against Malik, who plays the game like a great white shark with elbows. If you want to be on the winning side on Serenity Day this year, root for solidarity. Everyone's already in the locker rooms. I linger poolside, dripping on the towel at my lap. I can't seem to work up the enthusiasm to wrap it around me. Randy and I always used to race a couple of links after practice. I'm not about to do it alone. But old habits die hard. I'm aware of the shifting weight on the bench, and I see that Mrs. Delaney has sat down beside me. This must be so hard for you, she says sympathetically. I nod. Malik's really good and strong. And when he can't score on you, he just aims the ball at your face. I guess I look surprised because she grins. You think I missed that? I played in college, Division I. Two things about Mrs. Delaney. She's a lot younger than most of the parents in town, so she remembers what it's like to be a kid. And she's new. So the way things are done in Serenity isn't the whole world to her. But that's not what I meant, she goes on. You must be missing Randy. Does it show? Well, not really, she says. It's a lie, but she's doing it because she's nice. In most places, people pick up and move constantly. It's the normal thing to do. I lost friends that way half a dozen times. Either their families moved or mine did. You get used to it. Not here, you don't. True, she admits. Of course, Serenity's not so easy to get used to either. I'm from Philadelphia, so I never dreamed I'd live in such an isolated place. But then I married Brian, so I found a way. Brian. It amazes me every time I hear it. There's a purple people eater named Brian. Just like they're human or something. For the millionth time, I think of Randy. It's hard enough to imagine your teacher having a life outside of school. Throw one of the surety into the mix, and it's really through the looking glass. Mrs. Delaney once told the class that she met her husband on vacation in Cancun. I'll never shake that picture of a beautiful beach with people swimming and sunbathing, and in the middle of everything, there's the purple people eater in a full dress uniform, complete with boots and beret. Maybe he double parked his helicopter by the tiki bar. I have to ask, what are the surety guys like when they're not on duty? She gives me a mischievous grin, which makes her appear even younger. That's classified, mister. Classified? She explains, like government secrets. She stares at me, puzzled that I don't understand. It's not honest to keep secrets, I say. Sometimes things have to be kept secret from us for our own good, like national security. If the president told everybody his plan for that, he'd also be telling the enemy. I'm even more confused. Who's the enemy? She looks flustered. Well, there isn't one now. I'm just explaining why certain information has to be classified. She manages to regain her composure a little. Like your teacher's private life, for example. Your need for honesty stops at my front door. I can feel my face burning. Red. Sorry, but I'm more confused than embarrassed. Dad says the need for honesty never stops. I stand up. I should go change. I start for the locker room. I can tell you one thing about surety, she calls after me. I turn around. They know you kids call them purple people eaters. I think they kind of like it. And that's the end of our chapter for today. I'll see you next time with our next video. Stay safe, everyone.